Hi everyone, today we will study the subject biology, and in biology today in this video we will see cell as a living unit. So we will try to understand two things. First, why cell is called a living unit, and second, that what makes a cell a living unit. Okay, so let's move. Before starting, just try to understand what is cell. So let's start with it. So we can say that a cell is the smallest unit of a living organism. We know that any organism is made up of whole body. The whole body is made up of cells. Different cells unites to form tissues. These tissue unite to form organ, and from different organs the whole organism's body is made. So this is how an organism is made, and cells are the smallest unit of these whole body structure. So this is how we can say that cells are the smallest unit of a living organism. Next is they are the basic building blocks of all the living beings. We just saw it that when we talk about any living organism's body, cells are the basic things. We can also compare this thing with some building. Okay, just close your eyes. Did you? Yes. Okay. Now imagine of your favorite building. If I ask you that how that building is made, so what will be your answer? You will say that that building is made up of bricks. When we talk about any building, it is made up of bricks. The same way when we talk about body, it is made up of different types of cells. So that's how we can say that cells are the basic building blocks of all the living beings or all the living organisms. Then a living thing can be composed of either one cell or many cells. So when we try to understand the cells, we divide them into two parts. First, on the basis of numbers of cells. So the organisms which have only one cell in their body are called as unicellular organisms, and their example can be amoeba. And those organisms which have many cells in their body organization are called as multicellular organisms. Multi means many and uni means one. So on the basis of how many cells are present in organism's body, we try to see or understand them. And the next criteria is that there are two broad categories of cells, which prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. So this is depending on the complexity of the cell, that how complex the cell is. So when we talk about prokaryotic cells, they have very primitive nucleus. There is no well developed nucleus is seen in the prokaryotic cells. While in eukaryotic cells, we see well developed nucleus and some cell organelles like endoplasmic reticulum. These organelles are not present in the prokaryotic cell. So when we try to study the cell, we study them on two bases. First, numbers of cell in organism's body, and second, complexity of the organism's body. Then to understand how cells are important in our life and how cells are our building blocks, there is one theory. This theory is called as cell theory. So what is that? Let's try to understand. So cell theory describes the basic properties of all the cells. It will tell us that what are the basic properties of all the cells. This theory states that all living organisms are made of cells as the smallest functional unit. We know that there are many functions in our body. Which functions? So they are nutrition, they are digestion, they are transportation, then there is excretion, right? So there are many different processes in our body. And all these processes occur at the cellular level. So all the living organisms are made up of cells as the smallest unit because all these functions are performed in the cell. Now this theory was given by whom? So this theory was given by three microbiologists. Microbiologists are those who study the microorganisms or microbes. So they contributed to the development of cell theory. Now, which three microbiologists were they? First was Sheldon, Shawn, and Virtue. So when I ask you in exam that give me the three names or give me the name of the microbiologists or scientists who gave the cell theory, then you have to give these three names. Now, what does this theory state? What can we know or understand from this theory? So there are three statements. First statement is that all living things are composed of one or more cells. So we already know that when we talk about any organism's body, it is made up of many cells. right? Next is that cells are the basic unit of life. Why? Because they perform all the important functions of life and they provide the basic structure or to the basic body to any organism. So that's why we say that cells are the basic unit of life. And the third is that all new cells arise from existing cells. So we know that cells perform two things. First, either mitosis or meiosis, and due to this processes they reproduce. There is one cell, this cell will grow and divide into two cells. So two new cells have arisen from the old cell. So this is how new cells are formed from the existing cells. So this is how the cell theory describes that cells are the living beings. Why? Because they form the organism's body. Now, if any organism is a living being, so all the cells, which are the basic building blocks, must be a living thing. Then they are the basic unit of life because they perform all the functions and they provide the structures or basic structures. And new cells arise from the existing cells. That means cells are living beings. Now, let's try to understand what are these cell components. So, this is the figure of animal cell and this is the figure of plant cell. So, when we talk about animal cell, they have cell membrane, which is the outermost membrane. There is nucleus, which controls all the processes, and there is cytoplasm. And when we talk about plant cell, the extra materials above all these three things are cell wall, permanent cell vacuole, and chloroplast. Now, when we talk about cell, so we can say that all the organisms perform all life essential processes. What are the life essential processes? So they are nutrition. We have to eat food and digest it, and we have to get the energy from it. So that is the process of nutrition. Then we do the process of respiration. We do breathe in and breathe out. So that is a process of respiration. And due to all these processes, some amount of waste is generated. So we remove this waste. So for that, we do the process of excretion. So all these processes are life essential processes. If any of these processes won't occur in our body won't be able to survive. It will die. So these processes are called as life essential processes. And cells are the smallest known units that can accomplish all these functions. So we can say that because cells performs all these functions in our body, they are the living organisms or living beings. Now let's try to understand what are the characteristics of a living thing. What are the characteristics we look for in particular thing so that we can call that thing a living thing. So let's start with it. First, a living thing must respond to changes in its environment. So we already know that cells respond to the osmosis, diffusion, and environmental shocks. So any of these things occurs in the cell or inside or outside the environment of the cell will react. So this is how cell responds to the changes in the environment. Next is that a living thing must grow and develop across its lifespan. Now let's take the example of humans. So first it is baby, then they are little boy or girl, then they become adults, and then they get old. So this is how our lifespan gets over. So during all this our life, our cells continuously grow, they develop and they divide. So this is how we can say that a living thing must grow and develop. So our cells grow and develop, that's why they are living beings. Next is that a living thing must be able to reproduce or make copies of itself. So we just saw that the cell perform mitosis or meiosis, and due to this they either form two cells from the existing cell or four cells from the existing cell, and this is how they reproduce and make new copies of the existing cells. So cells are the living beings as they accomplish all these three conditions. Now let's see a few more conditions. Next condition is that a living thing must have a metabolism. So we see that all the cells perform the process of nutrition. That is the process of metabolism where something is made and something is broken down. So cells perform the process of metabolism, that's why they are living beings. Next is a living thing must maintain homeostasis. That means equilibrium condition. Everything is similar inside and outside. So cells perform all these processes, or they keep their environment the same regardless the outside changes. That means that if I'm here in the temperature of 37 degree outside, then my body will survive. Even when you put me in the environment where the temperature is 2 to 3 degrees Celsius, then also my body will survive, because my internal environment of my body won't change according to the environment of the outside. So cells perform all functions as which are stated here. So we can say that cells are the living beings. Next thing, that all living thing must be made of cells. So we know that all the organisms are made up of cells. And last thing, that a living thing must pass on traits to its offspring. So we know that the nucleus which is present in the cell contains all the genetic material, that is DNA or RNA, and they transport this DNA or RNA during the reproduction process to their offspring. So this is how these cells accomplish all these given characteristics. So we can say that cells are the living things. Now let's start that why do we call a cell a living unit? So there are some reasons. The first reason is cells are called the structural and functional unit of life. We already discussed it. Next is that cells perform all life essential processes. We just saw that life essential processes like nutrition, respiration, excretion, etc. The cell performs all these processes, and for these processes they interact with their outer environment, and any change in the outer environment would affect them. We already know it. And then we can say that cells grow, they divide, and they die. We already discussed it in the previous slides. Now, let's try to see that why particular things are present in the cell which makes a cell a living unit. So we can say that there are different cell organelles which also provides evidences about the cells as a living units. Which are these particular organelles? So let's first start with the cell membrane. Cell membrane is present in the plant and animal cells both. It can be seen in plants and animals both. Now what does it do? So it holds the cell and controls the passage of substances in and out. So when a cell is living, it will perform some metabolic reactions. And to perform all these metabolic reactions, the cell will require some material inside, and it will generate some waste which will go outside the cell. So this cell membrane controls the passage of substances in and out. So this is how we can say that cell membrane is a living thing, because it allows something to enter and something to leave the cell. Next thing is cell wall. So cell wall is present in only plant cells and some microorganisms, and it provides extra support to the cell. We just saw it that this is the animal cell and this is the plant cell, but in plant cell some extra layer is there which covers the cell membrane. So this cell wall provides the extra support to the plant cell, and it is also permeable for substances. Permeable means it will allow something to enter and leave. So some molecules will enter the cell and some molecules will leave the cell. So cell wall is also a living thing. Next is cytoplasm. This is my cell, this is the cytoplasm, and this is the nucleus. So what is cytoplasm? So cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance where all cell organelles are present. So we know all the different cell organelles. Which organelles are there? So they are, let's first start with mitochondria, the energy house or powerhouse, then endoplasmic reticulum, then Golgi body, right? There are etc. So there are many different cell organelles which are present in the cytoplasm, and this is the jelly-like substance. And it collects many substances and water. The cytoplasm is made up of 90% of water and rest are dissolved salts and some sugars. So this is how our cytoplasm is made. And we can say that it allows many metabolic reactions to occur. That's why our cytoplasm is also a living thing. And we can say that many chemical reactions takes place here. Why? Because it provides the proper environment to all the metabolic processes. Now, Next is nucleus. So what does it do? So nucleus contains all the genetic material. Either the genetic material can be DNA or RNA. It is there inside the nucleus, cell's nucleus, and it passes on to the next generation or offsprings. Due to this, the child or the offsprings are similar to their parents, and it controls many reactions of the cells. So we can say that if something is living, then and then only it will be able to control something. So nucleus also provides the evidence that a cell is a living thing. And nucleus also controls the cell division, that how cells will divide into two, at what time, at what rate, everything is decided by nucleus. Next is mitochondria. So mitochondria is made up of two membranes, inner and outer. So they provide large surface area. And due to this, what happens? They are associated with ATP production. Now ATP is the energy currency of our body. When we require any kind of energy in our body, we go for ATP. Only ATP is used as the energy source in our body. And mitochondria, as it generates ATP, it is called the powerhouse of the cell because the ATP is generated in the mitochondria. So that's why we can say that mitochondria is also a living thing because all the reactions and ATP production occurs inside it. Then next is endoplasmic reticulum. So the endoplasmic reticulum or ER is an organelle which is found in eukaryotic cells only. We discussed it earlier. Then we can say that it is involved in the synthesis of lipids, oils, phospholipids and steroids. So these are the compounds which are synthesized in the cell, and only living thing can synthesize something, right? So that's why the cell is living being. Endoplasmic reticulum is also responsible for metabolism of carbohydrates, regulation of calcium concentrations and detoxification of drugs. So all these processes occurs in the living organism, and all these processes occurs inside the cell. That's why we call it endoplasmic reticulum is a living thing. And it is also responsible for protein synthesis, and it plays a role in the membrane production. So it synthesizes something that means that it is alive. So we can say that due to the presence of endoplasmic reticulum, our cell is a living thing. Next is ribosomes. So what are ribosomes? When we talk about ribosomes, we can say that ribosomes are composed of RNA and protein. They occur in the cytoplasm and they are the sites where protein synthesis occurs. Now synthesis will occur only in living things. So as they are responsible for the synthesis of protein, ribosomes provide an evidence that cell is a living thing, and they are important in protein synthesis. Next is Golgi body. So Golgi body is found near the nucleus and endoplasmic reticulum, and proteins are transported to the rough endoplasmic reticulum RER to the Golgi. That means that endoplasmic reticulum, we know it is of two types, rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So protein are transported from rough endoplasmic reticulum to the Golgi body, and here the proteins are modified. They are packed into vesicles and they are moved to the places where they are needed. So that's why we call the Golgi body as the post office of the cell. Next are vesicles. What are vesicles? So vesicles are small membrane bound spherical sacs. Sac means something, a bag like structure. They facilitate the metabolism, transport and storage of molecules. So when they do the metabolism, they transport and they store something, that means they are alive, right? So we can say that vesicles also provide the evidence that cell is a living thing. Then there are lysosomes. So what are lysosomes? So lysosomes are formed by the Golgi body or ER, endoplasmic reticulum, and they contain powerful digestive enzymes that can potentially digest the cell. When do they digest the cell? So these powerful enzymes can digest cell structures and food molecules like carbohydrates and proteins. So they do the process of digestion, which is a property of living being. So that's how we can say that cell is a living being. So these are the evidences depending on which we can say that cell is a living unit, because All these organelles are present in the cell and they perform some functions, and only living being can perform the functions, right? So we can say that cell is a living unit because it satisfies all the characteristics, and we have some evidences. These are the different organelles which are present in the cell which provides the evidences that cell is a living unit. Okay, so now let's see what are the possible questions which can be asked in the examination. So first, what are the three basic characteristics of cell? So first, they will grow, they will reproduce, and they will die. So these are the three characteristics of a cell. Next is who gave the cell theory? So three microbiologists, Sheldon, Shawn and Virchow. So they gave the cell theory. And what organelle can kill the cell? So we know that lysosomes can kill the cells. So these are the questions that can be asked in the exam. I hope I made you understand this topic in a better way. Thank you so much for watching this video, and for more videos like this you can visit vicerx.com. Till we meet again, take care, stay safe and bye bye.